thank all the sponsors. We're going to start with an invocation, then the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we're going to have a welcoming from the owner of this beautiful establishment, Mr. Tom Day. But please, ladies and gentlemen, for leading our prayer is Riverside County Auditor and Controller. Please welcome the elected official, Ben Benoit.
Thank you, everybody. If I have your attention for just a moment, if we could bow our heads in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this wonderful night to bring us together to hear from our elected officials from our region. Please bless them as they go back and let them take whatever they need as far as the tools in the tool chest to work with our other elected officials to help take care of this wonderful county. And we look at what's going on in the world and we see so much untold violence and other just catastrophic incidents happening across our world. And let it remind us how blessed we are to live in these United States, how blessed we are to live in this wonderful county, and how much we have to do to work hard to take care of this county so we can take care of others. Thank you all for getting us here tonight. Bless us food and bless our wonderful time here together, and let everyone get home safely. Amen.
And if you'll stay standing, I'd like to welcome our elected Riverside Community College District Board of Trustee, Virginia Blumenthal, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Would you please place your right hand over your heart? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. I would like to bring up the curator of this facility here, a gentleman that was recognized by the Chamber of Commerce with the Lifetime Achievement Award this last year. Please welcome Mr. Tom Day.
It's an honor to have the Rotary and Corona Chamber and everybody here, and I just want to thank everybody participating in this. But Bobby got me out of the line. I would have had a drink. I would have stayed longer. So I'm getting back in line. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I also want you all to know that Tom has donated this facility to us tonight, so let's give him a round of applause. So tonight is an evening with the elected officials, and we've tried to sprinkle them throughout the place at their different tables. Our first speaker to welcome us tonight is our Vice Mayor from the City of Corona. Please welcome the Honorable Tom Richards.
Good evening, everybody. If you don't know, Bobby made me wear a suit to this tonight. Here I am. I kind of wanted to start out with a little saying on politics. I was going to memorize it when I got here, but I started looking at cars, and now I'm going to read it. It says, a politician running for office was asked about his policy on liquor, which is over there with Mr. Day. He answered, if you mean the demon drink that poisons the body, ruins the mind, destroys the family, and creates criminals, then I'm against it. But if you mean the beautiful drink used for a wedding toast, the foundation of fun Friday nights, and a big source of tax revenue to fund needy orphans, then I'm all for it. And I won't change my mind no matter what. As you sit amongst the politicians, you'll probably hear a lot of this speak tonight. For me, entering politics, it was at one of these events where a lady walked up to my wife and said, you must have got a divorce. I heard your husband got elected to city council. And I was standing 10 feet away. So now I don't bring my wife to any more of these events. I would like to leave you with a little bit of history. In the early 1900s in Corona, the largest citrus grower in Corona was W.H. Jameson. He had the most orchards, the most lemon trees. And the second largest was Ethan Allen Chase, the owner of Chase Ranch, and some of you live in Chase Development. Jameson took his family of 8 on a worldwide trip. And on the way back to Corona, he came through Riverside. And he met his friend Ethan Allen Chase, the second largest grower in Corona, who happened to live in Riverside. Ethan Allen Chase said, "So what was the most prettiest place you saw on your tour of the world?" And he said, "It's here in Corona." And I went through Riverside and it wasn't the best either. Welcome to Corona, everybody. You're the best place in the world. We have the best cars in the world. And thank you for listening to me.
Next, we'd like to hear from one of our council members. Please welcome Wes Speak. Wes? Did I pull you out of the liquor line? So it'll be a short talk because you want to get back up there. So, ladies and gentlemen, former mayor and on our city council representing Ward number 5, please welcome Wes Speak.
Well, Councilmember Steiner and I were, we had a rock, paper, scissors, who was going to get called up first, so he's going to get my drink, so I'll get back, so we're good. First of all, good evening, and today I stand before you to express my deepest gratitude for a remarkable business community and the Corona Chamber for its unwavering advocacy efforts. Your commitment to advancing the interests of our local businesses and driving economic growth is truly commendable. In a world where progress and success are often shaped by legislative decisions, the importance of legislative action and advocacy committee cannot be overstated. This community serves as a vital bridge between the business community and our elected officials, ensuring that our voices are heard and our concerns are addressed. Through our tireless advocacy, your tireless advocacy, my own tireless advocacy, you have demonstrated the power of collaboration. You understand by uniting our voices and working hand in hand, we can create a stronger, more business-friendly environment. Your relentless efforts in promoting policies that foster innovation, reduce regulation burdens, and support entrepreneurship not only benefited our local communities, but also propel our community toward greater prosperity. So with that, I want to say thank you very much, and I appreciate you giving me time to speak tonight.
So I did want to mention, since he mentioned advocacy, tonight's proceeds go to fund our outreach and our advocacy efforts. We also have a silent auction. There's a table here and the table that's in red here. These are all auction items. The other items that are on here, I know CC Vest mentioned that Mr. Day's wife outbid her at the Lobster Fest for that white guitar over there. Those are not on our auction block, just these here, right here. And CC's husband already did the instant buyout on those tumblers. So if anyone wants to bid on things, there are instant buyouts. You can just put your name at the bottom. We'd be glad to sell that item immediately. So with that, I did want to mention, I will tell you when we're going to close the bids for the silent auction. I'll let you know. It'll be after dinner, and I'll give you a 5-minute notice. But our next speaker is another council member, a gentleman that actually got to serve as mayor during COVID. And in our chamber, we had a theme that year to something about history and make history. Corona did because they stupidly named that virus the coronavirus. But with that being said, this gentleman is now on our city council, and he does a tremendous job serving District 4. And please welcome the Honorable Jim Steiner.
Hey everybody, yeah, Bobby mentioned I was mayor in 2020, and I tell people I'm still in recovery. As you can imagine, people actually wanted me to change the name of our city because it reminded them of the virus, and that was just one of the easy ones. But I was over there getting a drink at the bar, so I didn't really hear what Wes or Tom said. I'm guessing you got a history lesson of some sort. Yes? Okay. Really, all I wanted to say tonight, guys, is I spoke at your legislative action committee meeting, I don't know, 4 months ago, 5 months ago or so. And one of the things that I had brought up was the importance of educating elected officials about the issues that you're dealing with in the business community, because you can't assume that we know. I was a firefighter my whole career. I never owned a business. I never ran a business. And you have to teach me, educate me, and help me understand what you need and how can we get there. So, you know, the landscape has really changed, and it's important, I think, for the business community to reevaluate their lobbying efforts at a local level, in all levels, but at the local levels where I sit. And, you know, there's a reason for that. We've gone to districts now, and we established term limits. So you're going to have a rotation of elected officials that come in and go. And you have to really try to figure out how to lobby in that changing environment, and how to get quicker and make it more aggressive and ask for stuff. You got to ask for stuff. But anyways, I continue to support the business community the best I can with how you've educated me, and you got me for 3 more years, so take advantage of it. Okay?
Thank you, Jim. So our next speaker is going to wrap things up, and then we'll be dismissing by tables for the dinner. But it is my pleasure and honor to introduce this lady. I've known her for a number of years. We either have pillow talks or we have pillow fights. Please welcome the Honorable County Supervisor, Karen Spiegel.
Every single voice counts. And I think my colleagues in the Corona City Council will tell you that. If we don't hear when good things or things you want, you know what? We don't think there's out there. We just had a board meeting that was pretty nasty for Sheriff Bianco. And we didn't hear much positive. And yet, it was overwhelmingly elected. So your voice does count. And your voice counts in the ballot box, but you know what? It counts when we're making decisions on behalf of Riverside County. And it's really important. This advocacy group does make a difference. We're losing local control. City councils and counties, we are losing our local control. Decisions are made in Sacramento, not by our choice. But your voices cumulatively get heard. We have later on you'll hear Senator Kelly Zierto, Senator Zierto. And he'll tell you that your voice is going to be heard. And the advocacy that you do is critically important. The chamber makes a difference. And the local level, we know it more than ever. Because if we don't have you winning in our communities, then we aren't winning. It's a win-win. When you do well, you know what? Our revenues do well. When you don't do well, we have a problem balancing our budgets. It's real. It's real that we have to work together. We have to be able to represent what you want, but we can't if you don't share with us. Advocacy is so critically important today more than ever. And it costs money to advocate, and that's why these fundraisers and all these things that we do. I know you think it's here you're coming to fundraising, it's all dedicated to get your voices heard even more. So when they put out a flyer, hey, sign this petition, or say you want to hear this bill being not passed or passed, you want to support it, please jump in. Come to meetings, come to the council meeting. If they're doing something that you're not in favor of, or the board, now in Corona you have more decisions to make in your city council, so they need to hear you. Because your voice not being heard means status quo. Even if you support something, let them know you support it. Because we need to know we're going down the right path. Otherwise, we could be painting everything pink or purple because you didn't tell us you didn't win. So thank you for supporting the Chamber of Commerce. Just a tidbit, the Chamber of Commerce brought the Spiegels to Corona back in 1958. See how important the Chamber is? Bobby and I met in the Junior Chamber of Commerce. It's in our blood. It's in our lives. And we value it. We've signed both sides of the check, like many of you have. We know what it's like when things are being told that we have to change. Being the business owner and told how much we're going to have to pay somebody, we've gotten to a point in time that we need to stand up and speak louder. So thank you for being here, supporting this advocacy, and hopefully you can continue to support financially and through your voices. Thank you.
Well, I just want to close this out right now as we start dismissing the tables, but I'd like to have all the elected officials please stand so that people can see where they are, and also any representatives of the electeds, if you would stand. We want to say thank you to each and every one of you. We want to say how much we appreciate what you do on a daily basis. And the press enterprise, or as I call it, the depressed enterprise, do not really paint the picture the right way. Later, you're going to hear from State Senator Kelly Ciarto and from District Attorney Mike Hestrin, and our closing speaker will be our Sheriff, Chad Bianco. Each one of them, as well as the ones that already spoke, truly care about business. You are the business community. You sacrifice every single day. You provide jobs and you provide revenue for this community. We cannot thank you as a business owner enough. So on behalf of the business community, the Chamber of Commerce, we say thank you to our elected officials, and we say thank you to each one of you that are here tonight. God bless you, and enjoy the rest of the evening, and please go through the auction. And Rachel is going to be dismissing by tables. So Rachel, as you go to the different tables to let them go ahead and start with the dinner, and then be sure and look through all the cars, and come on up and bid on those things. Thank you so very much. And I just wanted to announce that the sheriff's helicopter has been purchased out, but the sheriff has said that he would do a second one, so if anyone is interested in doing that at the buyout price of $5,000 to donate to the chamber, please let me know. But I'm now going to introduce, and we'll be closing all the silent auction items right after this next speaker comes up. So we have an amazing individual that has come in. He's with the state Senate office. Kelly Ciarto has a tremendous background. He just spoke at our legislative luncheon. He went through his whole district. If you want to really understand how screwed up California is, go on the website and look at where his district is and how many different counties that he has to jump between, and what is crazy. And I know Jim Steiner mentioned, hey, he wants to hear from us on what we can do. But I've always told the people in the state, every time they pass a bill, why don't you cancel 2 of them that are on the books? That would really help us as business owners. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Honorable Kelly Ciarto.
Thank you very much, Bobby. All right, so they always bring me up right after dinner, which is bad, because sometimes what I have to say causes a little bit of indigestion. But, so I'm going to try to temper that a little bit and just give you a little bit of idea, a little flavor for what we're doing right now in Sacramento, which is absolutely nothing, which is great. We're on break. We are on break, which allows us to do the good stuff, which is coming out and supporting events like this and getting to know some of our constituents, because they keep us pretty busy the rest of the year. As stated before, I have a rather large district. That's 4 different counties: Orange County, Riverside County, San Bernardino County, and San Diego County in it. I also represent cities all the way from Yorba Linda and Chino Hills, all the way down through part of Corona, not all of Corona. And then we go down the corridor, we have Canyon Lake, Lake Elsinore, Murrieta, Temecula, Menifee, and then I go all the way down to the wonderful city of Julian. And everybody knows what down in Julian is Julian apple pies. So we get down there frequently, my wife and I. But then after you're done doing that, you can go out and do a little off-roading in Ocotillo Wells, because that's in my district also. And if that bores you, you go down and you go down the switchbacks, the back way down to Palm Desert. And there's one little neighborhood in Palm Desert that is in my district. But if you blow through Palm Desert, get over to Cathedral City, Palm Springs, and Desert Hot Springs, or go up to Joshua Tree, That's in my district also. But then you come back, you go up little switchbacks, and you keep going straight instead of going down to Temecula, and you go up to Iowa. I was up there last week, I have the scars to show it. I met the mayor dog. And yes, he is a mayor, and he is the dog. That's a beautiful dog. But when he wanted to shake hands with me, he actually scratched my arm to the horrified, where the poor lady was horrified because I started bleeding a little bit. I told her, hey, I was in the fire service, that's no problem. No big deals there. So anyway, then we come down to the city of Hemet, and Hemet, because it is only, 15 miles up, 10 miles up, that's not in my district. But the lake is, so that's kind of nice. Then you go across all the way through Riverside, you get all the crests. You go up to UCR, UCR is a beautiful place, that's not in my district. But the parking lot is. So then you go across all the crests. Unfortunately for Chad, yes, Chad's area is in my district also. And then you get into Norco, horse country, and then back out to Chino Hills, Yorba Linda. So it's a huge area, but I'm so blessed to have that area because, for one thing, it gives me a lot of things to learn. Like I am, 3 hours ago, I was one of the masses who would drive down the 91. You always look this way, you don't know what the hell this was. And now I know. And you find all these little hidden gems in each of these cities. And each of these cities has their own little thing going on. And so being able to be in the district and getting to know the communities, getting to know the people that are leaders in their communities, getting to know the businesses that prop up the communities is really the fun part of the job. The not so fun part of the job is going up every Sunday to Sacramento and then coming home either Thursday night or Friday night and having to try to stop the damage that's being done. Because, you know what, believe it or not, some of our younger folks that are up there don't know how to connect the dots. They don't know how legislation that they create in their dreams at night or when they go to Amsterdam. I found out when I went there where a lot of these weird ideas come from. That they don't necessarily work in California. And that sometimes what we do up there affects the people that are trying to do businesses, trying to live their lives, and they don't know how that affects them. And so they push through these regulations, they push through these taxes. Some of them are not so obvious. EDD, great example. Instead of paying that down last year, so this year, this is what we did with the EDD. We borrowed money to pay for the interest that we owe on the principal, and we didn't pay the principal, so the feds are going to make us pay down the principal by higher EDD rates for all of the businesses in California. So you're going to start paying on the principal because California wouldn't. And we borrow money to pay on the interest. So we have to pay interest there, and then we have to pay back the money we borrow. So that's how California does interesting budgeting. I sit on budget. I am befuddled by what they do on budget committee because it is not a way that any business would run themselves because they run themselves right into the ground. And but I feel fortunate because I am on budget, transportation, housing, all of these things that really affect our region out here. And so this is what I'm going to tell you because there's more interesting people coming up here to speak to you who are in charge of keeping us safe. And they know it, and they do a great job of it. But that's one of the issues in California is we went down this path that they thought was public safety, and they found out that it is anything but. And now a lot of the state is trying to reverse course while we're staying the course. And it's because of the two individuals you'll be hearing from in a little bit. But anyway, public safety is one of the things that we have issues with. And with my 35 years in public safety, the one committee that I am not on is public safety. And the reason for that was because I was when I was in the assembly for 2 years before this. And I kind of wreaked havoc on their discussions. And so they didn't want me there anymore. But I am on housing, transportation, local government, because a lot of what we do is trying to take away the control that local government has over their own communities. I have government organizations, the water districts and those type of things. Natural resources and water is mine. Transportation, I already said transportation, but the energy utilities and those things, those are in my wheelhouse. Those are on the committees that I sit on. So I sit on 9 committees, which is more committees than anybody in the legislature. And this year, my bill package, I sent 8 bills, they were good bills too. 8 bills to the governor's desk. And being a guy with an R next to his name up there, that's not usually going to go well. But this year, I got all 8 bills signed. So that was a good most important bill, I think, is trying to instigate the state into getting off the dime about fentanyl. And we have some good things to follow. An example of Riverside County's got their fentanyl task force. Well, this fentanyl task force would be a statewide task force to help people who aren't doing anything get off the dime and do something about it. Get everybody at the table, figure out what we need to do, see how much money it's going to cost, and make sure we allocate that money so that we can make a dent on the fentanyl issue, because it is growing exponentially. And it's a highly, highly addictive drug, more addictive than probably any other drug that's out there. So once people are on it, they can't get off of it. We need to figure out what to do. That bill actually got through this year, got signed by the governor after last year being held up in appropriations. So we lost a year, but at least we are going to have that discussion, that talk, hopefully get something done about it. I had a couple of veteran bills that also got through dealing with property tax exemptions for them. Before, it was very hard for them to get through, depending on what county you lived in, to get their property tax exemption for disabled veterans. This enables them to do it online easily, and it's the same for every county. So that take away some of that. So there's a lot of things that we're finding that are helpful, but they're not as obvious. So there are things that we can get done, because there's a lot of things, as you know, that we can't get done. And so instead of focusing on those, I do try to not leave anything on the table while we can do those other things. I see Lily back there from Waste Management. Another issue we have in California is Cal Recycle. Well, they're not the only issue. We have a bunch of state agencies, and they don't work very well for us. They work well for the administration that appoints each one of them onto the board, but a lot of times those aren't experts. They're not experts in the field. And in fact, I know Cal Recycle doesn't even have a waste industry person on their board to be able to offer an expert opinion on how to handle organic waste or how to handle our recycling, because it's not working. We're paying a lot of money for it. Our trash bill, I pulled the trash bill out from, believe it or not, I keep records, from 5 years ago to now, it's double what it was. And nobody realizes that. These little regulations that we make, all it does is cause us to have to spend more and more money. So we have a cost of living issue here in California, constantly looking out for that, constantly looking at the things that we do. Like Bobby said, we need to get rid of regulations instead of make more and more and more, because those turn into cost of living issues for all of us. It makes our businesses not successful, and when businesses aren't successful, it's all interrelated. That means people don't have jobs, they can't afford houses. They want us to build houses like mad out here, but they don't want to give us the money for road transportation. So there's a lot of things that this region gets left out of. And so working in collaboration, I hope, with the other elected officials that are representing this region, we need to do a better job. We need to do a better job collectively of ensuring that the inland region gets the money that we're deserving of to be able to accomplish some of the goals that they're making us do, some of those mandates they're making us do, like the housing and things like that. So with that, I'm going to end my little talk. Thank you so much for having me here this evening. And we'll be sitting over there until the end of the evening. If you want to come over and chat or have a question, feel free to do so. But I want to give up the floor so you can talk to the interesting guys, our DA and our sheriff. Thank you.
We're very blessed to have him as one of our representatives, and that's pretty awesome. You may want to ask him later on, he's got the fire background, so public safety. That's about the only committee that he doesn't get to serve on because they don't want him. He's got too much knowledge to do, so that's how California thinks. I did want to just acknowledge real quick, we've got our committee chairs for this event tonight is John Whitegant and also Dr. Anthony Periton. Would you two please stand? I think you guys deserve a round of applause. Thank you so much for putting this together. Appreciate you. And also our chairman of the board is Dean Safe. Dean, and his theme this year is Driven for Success. Thank you, Dean. And now the auction is now closed out, so Desiree's picking those on up. I just want to thank you all for those that did bid on things, some of you that bid up the prices, that was excellent. And again, all this money goes towards our advocacy outreach. And I'm just extremely proud and pleased over what we've seen on bidders. And if you would like to get something later on that maybe didn't sell, come see us and we'll work something out with you, okay? You can pay double of what the buyout was supposed to be. So Senator Ciarto mentioned fentanyl. And I am so extremely impressed with this gentleman that I'm going to bring up. He'll be our district governor, our district, the hell is he? District attorney. Thank you. I'm so sorry, man. I got totally sidetracked. But when he came out and he took on this whole thing about fentanyl, and he's going to share some things. I hope he'll share what he did last night in regards to some things that they've done. But the chamber totally got involved, and we purchased bumper stickers for every county car that talked about fentanyl and that it's a crime and to be careful. And we're doing an educational outreach. And this district attorney has come to our chamber multiple times to meet with different industry groups, and we are so honored to have him. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Honorable District Attorney Mike Hester.
Thank you, appreciate that. I want to talk to you a little bit tonight about how Riverside County is different, how we stand apart from the rest of California, and that, trust me when I say that's a good thing. We want to stand apart, we want to kind of go against the grain of the direction that California has been going. So I'll tell you the story that involves fentanyl. About 3 years ago, our sheriff, our great sheriff, Chad Bianco, and I got together, and we saw what was happening in our own county. We're aware of what's happening around the state with fentanyl deaths, poisonings we call them, and they were just exploding exponentially. We've been talking to parents who are losing their children, and we decided we're going to do something about it. And so we came up with a new approach, and the sheriff set up a team to investigate fentanyl-related deaths, and I promised to prosecute them to the full extent of the law. And so skip ahead, that was 3 years ago, and we put the resources into it. The sheriff put the resources into it. He put investigators on these cases, and I want you to understand how innovative that is. Most sheriffs around the state were not at the time willing to do that. So he put the investigators on it, and I promised him, you bring me the cases, you build the cases with evidence, and I will take those things to court, and we will prosecute them all day long. And guess what? It's worked. We have 25. So we have in Riverside County, we have 25 pending murder cases where the murder involves death by fentanyl. 25. There's no other county that has more than 2, and we have about 10 cases that we've sent to the feds. Just today, we had our sentencing in our first jury trial fentanyl murder case, and the defendant who poisoned a young girl named Kelsey King, 26 years old, he poisoned her to death, and he's going to spend life in prison. And that's what it means. And that's what it means, in my opinion, to go against the grain. Neither one of us care at all about fitting in with California's political elite. They don't like us, and we're happy they don't like us. We don't do what they want us to do, They're mad at us for doing all these things. But it's interesting, 3 years ago when we started this, I heard nothing but scorn from the Attorney General. I heard nothing but ridicule from the governor. And now, if you listen to them talk, you would think it was their idea, that we stole their idea. Which is fine with me. I don't really care who gets the credit. But I will tell you that this story of the fentanyl case and how we do things here in Riverside County is just one small example of how we work hard here to keep you all safe. So let me switch gears a little bit from fentanyl. Now I could talk about fentanyl all night, but what I want to hit on a little bit is just this notion. I mean, I'm speaking to a business community, and you might be thinking, well, talk about how criminal justice intersects with the business community. And I could talk about that. I could talk about regulation. I could talk about fraud. I could talk about a lot of different things. But really what I want to say to you tonight is we've reached a point in California where the criminal law, there's no more intersect. The criminal law and what's happening, the lawlessness that is breaking out across our state is directly affecting the business community. Retail industry is getting chased out of California. The losses that stores like Home Depot and Lowe's and Walmart, the losses they're facing are staggering, absolutely staggering, to the point where I'm not sure if we're going to have these stores in our state much longer. If you were the CEO of one of these stores, you have to be considering completely leaving the state. And so I'm really hoping that at some point we reach peak crazy in this state, and that there's some kind of a infusion of common sense to where we can begin to turn back. And I don't suggest that we should lock everybody up, throw away the key. That's not where we are as a state. I don't think anyone is suggesting that. But we have to get back to where we hold people accountable. Just like the fentanyl example. When you have drug dealers running around poisoning and killing people, what kind of DA, what kind of sheriff would just sit back and do nothing? That's not who we are in this county. So, when it comes to that and it comes to all these issues that are facing the state, we really need leaders to step forward in our state and start doing the right thing. And I hope that the rest of the state sees Riverside County as the example that what we've done. Because if you look around, and I'll tell you one other quick story. I took my son, he likes baseball, I took him to a baseball game down in San Diego. And we love San Diego. But if you haven't been down there recently, it's going to break your heart when you go down there. Because walking to Petco, I couldn't believe what I was seeing in the city of San Diego. It was homeless encampments as far as the eye could see, both sides of the street. My 7-year-old son was stepping over hypodermic needles and emptying liquor bottles, and this is San Diego. So it's coming. It's not just San Francisco and Los Angeles, it's coming. And so I want you all as citizens to do two things tonight. And I always hate to talk like this because I know it depresses everybody. But I want to leave you on a positive note. You are the ones that have demanded this kind of service and this kind of law enforcement and this kind of public safety in your county. And if we can do it here, we could do it in other places. So I want you to I guess, leave you with this. We do it differently in Riverside County. We're proud of that. We're going to continue to do it differently. We're going to continue to buck the trends of California. We're going to continue to use common sense and go after criminals. That's what we're supposed to do. But you as the business community, the days of, laws that affect business community and rest of criminal justice and those things being separate, they're not separate anymore. It's all one. And public safety has got to be your top priority. If we chase out the business owners from this state, then we've lost. It's going to collapse, right? If there's no one left to pay the taxes, if there's no one left to pay the salaries, then we're really lost. So we have to protect our business community. And our business community wants to do business in a safe place. Just like people want to live in a safe place where they can raise kids and have a family and walk down the street, right? And take their kid to a baseball game. That's the society, that's the place we want to live. So I really want to thank you for being out here tonight. I know I could talk all night about this, about fentanyl, but I want I want to turn it over to our great sheriff here in just a second. But I want to thank you for your support, for your engagement, and I want to just tell you on a positive note, don't give up the fight. Don't move to Idaho just yet. We're not ready to abandon ship. Let's fight for our homes. We're not going to get chased out of our homes. We're going to chase the criminals out, and we can rebuild and regain the state. Thank you.
Before I bring up our final speaker, I just would like, Benilda, could you please stand? This is Mike's wife. Thank you so much, Benilda, for coming. Really appreciate it. And Denise, would you please stand? This is the sheriff's wife. Thank you so much for being here. We so appreciate you guys. I know that you could be many different places, and your husbands are asked to speak everywhere, but for you guys to show up tonight, it means a lot to us, so thank you. God bless you guys. So now, give them a round of applause, absolutely. So I've introduced this guy before as America's sheriff, and I truly believe that he truly could go bigger places than Riverside County, but I'm so fortunate that he's right here and he's making a difference. He is not afraid to stand up and speak his mind. He makes sure that he's here to do his job, and he has done an excellent job of doing it. I was at an event the other night that we supported. It was for one of his charities, and he shared with us all those funds that was raised through that nonprofit went and did. It's absolutely amazing. He's had a couple of tough years this last year with some of the deputies and some unfortunate things, and he may get into that tonight. But I'd like you, not just for him, but for all of our elected officials, if you just keep them in your prayers, because they put their life on the line every single day for us. Ladies and gentlemen, it'd probably be a good idea if you get on your feet right now. Let's welcome up Sheriff Chad Bianco.
Thank you all, and what a fantastic evening. Sitting there listening to Kelly and Mike, they're depressing. So hopefully I'm going to just continue with the same thing a little bit, but I'm going to tell you just first, thank you to the Day family for allowing this. This is absolutely amazing. I hope you saw the cars on there. So I'm going to start off with just a little quick story of cars for me. I grew up in a family and friends and everything else of cars and muscle cars and everything else. I was 16 years old. I bought my first car. I bought a 1972 Bronco. And I kept stripping the four-wheel drive out of it. And so rather than keep repairing it and paying for the bearings that I was doing, I bought a 56 Chevy Bel Air. And so I started fixing that up really throughout my life, throughout high school and college and everything else. And then moved to California and brought it out here with me. It was certainly not this quality, but I was certainly proud of it. I had a lot of money, a lot of elbow grease, a lot of wheel grease under my fingers and everything else, and I loved that car. And so my wife and I lived in Riverside, and we were in a small house in the Wood Streets, and the driveway wasn't big enough for 3 cars. It fit 2, it didn't fit 3. So my mom and dad had my car in Redlands. And so I put myself through San Bernardino's Sheriff's Academy. Back in the early 90s, no one was hiring in law enforcement. So if you wanted to work in law enforcement, you had to put yourself through the academy. So I had to quit my job, go to the academy, and it wasn't easy. I mean, we needed both incomes, and losing one was difficult. So for 6 months, I was without pay and whatever. My mom and dad lived in Redlands, and I lived in Riverside, so I would routinely stop on my way through San Bernardino and say hi and tell them about my day and the academy and everything else. And they would always ask me how we were doing with money, and everything was okay. So one day I walk into the house, and my dad jumps up, and he's all excited to see me, and he's all happy, and asking me how I'm doing. And I see over my dad's shoulder my mom, and I'm a fairly intelligent son. I know when my mom's not happy. And so my mom, I could tell, was not happy. I'm like, uh-oh, something bad is happening. But my dad is overly excited and happy to see me, so it's weird. And he gives me this envelope, and I said, what's this? And he's like, oh, it's for you. He's like, I know you're struggling, and you know, we want to make sure everything's fine. I'm like, no, I don't need money, I don't need your money, everything's fine, it works. He's like, no, it's yours, it's yours. You can buy your gun, you can do whatever you want, it's your money. I'm like, no, it's not my money, it's your money, I don't need your money. He's like, no, I sold your car. So I panic, and I have a hold of the envelope, and now I look at my mother, and now I know why my mother's angry. This is 1993, so it's a little bit different, but I open up the envelope, $500. So my 1956 Bel Air, car of my dreams, that I put all my work into, I had a check for $500. And so now I know why my mother is so angry, because not only, I'm like, you sold my car? And he's like, oh yeah, he was excited to get it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll bet he was. And my mom says, oh, and he put $250 worth of tires on it and filled it up with gas and sold it for $500. So that's the story. That's the last nice muscle car, old car. But when I come in here, the smell is like, okay, that's my car. And then the sight, they've got it downstairs, a different color, but it's down there. So I was a little bit depressed, and then I had to listen to Kelly and then Mike, and it's like, oh my gosh, this night's horrible. I'm just kidding. So, now that at least everybody was laughing instead of depressed, I'm going to get you depressed again. I thoroughly enjoy coming to the Corona Chamber, speaking to the Corona Chamber, not just because of who you are and some of the people, and not because I haven't learned in 5 years to say no to Bobby. It's coming. One day, I know. I told him the other day, one day I'm going to tell you no, and he's saying, no, you're not. But the reality of me going out and speaking is I speak everywhere. And I completely, thoroughly enjoy chambers. And it's because of who I'm talking to. And Corona, I particularly love Corona. This isn't going to be a secret, and anybody filming it doesn't really matter, or recording or streaming live. Corona is by far the best chamber, the most. I don't know if it's the actual biggest. Maybe you know that, but it's certainly the most active with members in the county. And so the chamber for me is a great place for me to come talk, because for me, I am the largest spender of your taxpayer dollars. The Sheriff's Department, my budget last year was over $1 billion. So that can't be done without tax money, without tax revenue. And the majority of that comes from businesses. It comes from all of you. So it's almost like a love-hate relationship, that we have to love each other, and you can hate me for spending all that tax money and hate Karen if she ever raises taxes, which she won't, but hate our state for what it's doing to our businesses and for what it's doing to our public safety, because in this realm, we are both being victimized by our state and by what Kelly has explained that's going on in the state. Mike explained for criminal justice. So you're all business owners. How many of you like our government? How many of you believe that the government is making it easier for you to operate your businesses every day? How many of you believe that the government made it easy to open your business? It's nuts, but yet, for me, for Mike doesn't spend nearly as much as I do, but he spends a lot. So for us to keep you safe, we are a big spender of taxpayer money. And the whole notion of keeping you safe and your business is safe and everything else, we have to keep them going. We have to keep them open. We can't have you leaving the state. We can't have residents leaving the state and having vacant housing. We're all dependent on each other, and businesses, particularly small businesses, are the lifeblood of an economy. You all know that. And so we do everything that we can to protect you, to make it easier for you to operate. So that is why I enjoy speaking to you, and that's why I never tell Bobby no, because I just enjoy it, and some of you are nice, and I enjoy meeting all of you and talking to you. But now talking about where we are and how to make a difference, how we can do things different. And I want to talk about public safety for Mike and I. And I'm going to highlight a problem of politics, and I'm going to tell you how lucky you were that it was by chance that you got Mike and I. Now, we all know that you only voted for Mike and I because we were better looking than our opponents. But the reality is Mike and I are unbelievably the same in our beliefs and what we think and how we think. So you would think that my whole life would be law enforcement. It's all about going out there and arresting people and taking bad guys to jail. You would think that Mike is all about, showing up in court and making sure that we prosecute all those people. But the bottom line is the unintended consequence of you picking the best looking person was Mike's most important thing in his life is sitting right next to him. My most important thing in life is sitting right next to me. And then our kids come after that. And then our homes and our livelihood and everything else. And then work is a necessary thing to keep those other things happy. So the problem with politics is you've elected the bright and shiny object, but you weren't as lucky getting the right people up in Sacramento. When I say that, I don't want to accuse us in Riverside County of it, because we are an island. There are other counties that don't have Kelly Ciaras, that don't have Bill Asales, that don't have the people that Riverside County has sent up there. But we are really sending them into the lion's den, because they are an anomaly up there. They are an unbelievable minority that they go up there away from their families, away from their friends, beat their head against the wall of a system that is completely set out against us. The bills that they pass, Mike mentioned fentanyl. Fentanyl, you all know the dangers of fentanyl, and that Mike and I have been beating the drums about fentanyl for 3 years. We have tried legislation, we have both backed legislation for the last 3 years in a row that would help us, that would help me arrest people selling fentanyl, dealing fentanyl, transporting fentanyl, and it would help Mike prosecute them. Simple bills. Some of them were elaborate, that would make people go to prison for a long time for doing those things. Some of them were simple as just saying, we're going to warn you, slap on the wrist this time, and next time if you do it again, then there will be a consequence. So we went from the very minor to as big as we possibly could, multiple pieces of legislation concerning fentanyl. All of them were shot down. Every single one of them. They didn't even make it out of committees. They didn't even push it through the committee to even have a vote. Now this year, as early as last week, our Attorney General, our complete incompetent failure of an Attorney General, is pushing his initiation of fighting fentanyl, and a bill that he is going to co-sponsor and push through the legislation that is almost word for word what Mike and I have been pushing for the last 3 years, that he has been 100% steadfast against. Now all of a sudden, like Mike said earlier, they want to act like they're the ones that it was their idea. But yet we've been begging them, and they have not done it. They have done everything they could to make sure that Mike and I's job was harder, so we could not protect you, so we could not protect your businesses, so we could not protect your homes, or parks, or kids, or schools. And while we are on an island, and we are good with it, we can't be comfortable with it. Karen made an interesting statement today about the Board of Supervisors meeting that was on Tuesday. Did anybody pay attention or watch it? A couple of people, the politicians, the ones that were forced to be there. Here's the reality of that. I'm going to exclude Karen, because Karen is probably, not just because I like her as a person, but I like her as a professional and as a representative of our government, because she doesn't take anything on face value. She asks about anything. Now, I wish she would trust me at least once, but she doesn't. She makes me explain it over and over and over and convince her why she needs to agree to me. And I appreciate that more than anything. However, on Tuesday, if you only listened to the board meeting, if you only read our tabloids account, the Press Enterprise and the Desert Sun, account of what happened in that meeting, you would think that I, as the sheriff, were the most evil person in this county. You would think that I was killing all of our inmates. You would think that I have absolutely no heart for our community. I'm doing nothing for us, and that all of our deputies are running around as criminals, and we're just complete chaos and out of control. Because for, an hour, that's all we heard was one person after another stating almost bullet point items. It's all the same thing because it's all coming from the ACLU, because the ACLU cannot stand me. They don't like our DA because they will not stop until there is no such thing as jails anymore. They don't want jails. That's right now, that is the sole purpose of the ACLU, is to do away with jails and prisons. And we're suffering the consequence. And so what Karen said is, you have to be a voice. You have to speak up. You have to let your voice be heard. And I tell Denise this all the time. For our society, 90 extreme high numbers, probably, I don't know if it's 99, but we'll say 97. 97% of the population are good people. And all we care about is our family, our jobs, our lives, the things that are right around us. We don't like controversy. We don't like fighting with people. We don't like anybody in our face, and we don't want to get in anybody's face. We just mind our own business and we work hard. That has caused us to be taken advantage of for decades. For decades. Because while we've been sitting back doing nothing, they've been pushing and working and making our elected officials think, like Karen said. Now, Karen's smart enough to not to know that there is a difference. But if all Karen heard was week after week after week of 1 hour or 2 hours of residents of Riverside County coming up saying how horrible things were and that they need to do something different with me, what do you think Karen would do? She would vote, or she would do something that was detrimental to the sheriff's department, which is basically keeping us safe. The next victim of that is going to be your DA, and then they'll be trying to get rid of the DA's office because he's doing the same thing I am. And the reality is, simple this is, why do you suppose it was an hour and a half of all negative people that were talking about me at the board? I didn't see any of you there. The rest of the people are working. We're working during the day. Our board meetings are, if you want to talk at the board, you have to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning. Which one of you is available at 9 o'clock in the morning? You're at work. You're minding your business. You're taking care of your daily lives, and it's difficult to take time out to go to a board meeting just to say, yeah, I support the sheriff, or I support the DA, or I support those things. But the ones that don't want us there are extremely loud and vocal, and when we are quiet, it's detrimental to the good things. So if Karen was not involved in her community with all of you, that I hope it's all of you are telling her how great I am. But if she is not hearing that, then they're going to do something. Now, it's a constitutional office, and I don't ever want to play that card with the Board of Supervisors and say that I only answer to all of you. But the reality is I only answer to all of you. The Board of Supervisors will control my budget, but if they believe that the majority of you want me to have less of a budget, eliminate the cops, do the defunding of the police items, there's a possibility that the other supervisors might do that, and then she's going to be the minority on the board, and we lose our DA, or we lose the ability for the sheriff's department to have these fentanyl task forces. The problem is, we don't have to be bad people, but we better stop being quiet. So if you want to go down a political rabbit hole and you cannot say, for Mike and I, because we've only been doing this for 25, 30 years, we can go back in time. I can tell you that life is 100%, 400% worse than it was in 2013, because in 2014, Prop 47 and 57 took effect. we can correlate the downside of Riverside County, the downside of California, to those things starting. AB 109 is the start, then Prop 47, 57, 64, all those other things that have just completely destroyed businesses and law enforcement. That's when all of those things happened, and none of us knew it. None of us knew anything about it. We just kept plugging along. Mike and I kept plugging along. We just do our job. Other chiefs of police, other sheriffs, they just, okay, well, that's the hand we're dealt. We just have to deal with it now. The problem with that is it didn't get better. We were nice. And so when I took over as sheriff and I got up there and says, I thought we were actually going to be this loud vote, like I thought everybody was going to be like me. And I found that they actually weren't. And they're like, ooh, that's bad. We're going to send them a letter and tell them that we don't like it. I'm like, do you think they're actually going to read your letter and they're going to throw it in the trash? Nobody cares. How about we get on the news and tell everybody how horrible it is? And so that's slowly taking effect, but we haven't done it as a society yet. And if you go back decades, and you want to talk about the downfall of where we are, the decay of society, what are the two things that we can never talk about? What can't you talk about at Thanksgiving dinner? Politics and religion. We all know we can't talk about politics and religion. Well, the people that were trying to destroy religion did it because we can't talk about it anymore. And the people that wanted to take over politics did it because we weren't talking about it. And the bottom line is, every conversation we have should be about politics. And not about DNR, not about left and right. How about we just go back to right and wrong? How about we go back to common sense? How about we go back to what keeps us safe? We cannot have a civilized society without repercussions and consequences for criminal behavior that victimizes us. We cannot have businesses if you're all going to move to a different state because you're losing too much money because of retail theft. If we're just going to give up, then, we can all vote which state you all want to move to. It's not going to be New York. We're not going to all move to Chicago. We're not going to move to these places that we're not learning from. San Francisco has been in decline for decades. So recently I have learned from the sheriff in San Diego and from some business people in San Diego that San Francisco is moving to San Diego. San Francisco is going to be a boarded up Detroit, and the majority of the people and the businesses are moving to San Diego. It's a beautiful place. The problem is what he just described to you, they're bringing San Francisco to us. They're bringing their policies, their beliefs, their politics to us. And so San Diego is going to turn into Sacramento. It's going to turn into San Francisco only if we let it. Our businesses are going to leave. We're going to say, I don't want my kids growing up in these schools. We're going to leave. You're going to say, I don't want my kids not being able to go play in the park. And we're all going to go to a better, safer place. Or we can stay and fight for it. We've done a great job in Riverside County because in Riverside County, we've elected the right people. We've put the right D in place. We've put the right board of supervisors in place. We elect the right city councils. I can tell you that in the meetings that I have across the state with all of the sheriffs, I'm one of the biggest. The only one bigger than me is LA. I'm number 2. I have 17 contract cities so basically I'm the chief of police of 17 cities. I don't have a bad city council. I have city councils all across Riverside County that care about their residents, that care about their businesses, that care about public safety, and we're doing the right thing here. That's why we live on an island. That's why Mike and I are hated so much, because we're vocal, we're doing the right thing, we're doing what you elected us to do. We need to spread that. We need to spread that information. We need to spread that word to your business partners. The chamber does a fantastic job of speaking for you in Sacramento, so you can't go there. I don't want any of you to beat up Kelly and tell Kelly how horrible it is, because he's already on your side. I don't want you beating up Bill Basaley. He's already on your side. You can look on RCOPS. RCOPS is the Association of Riverside County, what does it stand for, Mike? Riverside County Chiefs of Police and Sheriff, MDA. So it's all of our chiefs, me and Mike, are in an association. And we have a website, it's called RCOPS. You can find it, it's very easy. And we will tell you only, we don't care about whether or not someone's a Democrat or Republican, independent, or whatever they are. We are going to tell you who is voting for public safety and how they vote. I get criticized a lot for only speaking to conservative groups, only speaking at Republican Party meetings. And my answer to them always is, because usually it's someone from another group that's criticizing me for that, I always say, when did you ask me? I speak anywhere I ask. I know he speaks every single place he's asked. The problem, or this is where Denise might, she usually is like, stop. I don't necessarily like talking about DNR. However, I will tell you, if I found a Democrat that cared about public safety, I would consider supporting them in politics. But the reality of California right now, there isn't one. There isn't one. Stop voting for Democrat and Republican. Vote for character. Find out what they believe. Find out what their beliefs are. Find out what their family is. Find out what their background is. And start voting for character instead of party. And when we vote for number one, you're not going to have customers in your business if everybody moves. You're not even going to have a business here if no one comes into your store because the storefront is filled with homeless. People are afraid to come into your store. Or if the homeless people are destroying the outsides of your businesses, breaking your windows. The gangs and these groups of people that are doing these retail thefts because it's basically no longer a crime. If we give in to that, you're all going to have to move. So if we take a very, very, very vocal, professional, adult approach to spreading the word to other businesses, to other chambers, to other places across the state, we can make a difference. Mike and I are doing it a little by little, trying to affect the rest of the DAs in the state, the rest of the sheriffs in the state, but we need your help in your business communities to convince the business community that we need something different in California. Because the reality is as popular as you all are, and as big as this chamber is, it's going to be gone if there can no longer be businesses in California. So Mike and I promise you that as long as we were here, we will continue to do everything we can to keep you safe, your business is operating. We will continue to try and influence our Board of Supervisors, our senators, our assemblymen of the issues that public safety is creating with all of you. Theft, homeless, things with our kids, property crimes, drug crimes. We're going to do everything we possibly can. Now we just need your very, 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 very loud professional voice. You're going to find that if you're right, someone's just going to immediately insult you. If your argument immediately gets you're a racist or you're whatever, any name, you're going to figure out, I'm on the right side of the argument, and they don't have anything to come back. You know you've won, move on to the next person. When you're in line at the grocery store, it's okay to talk about politics and bring it up as in public safety. Are you happy with what's going on? Are you happy with the parking lot? Are you happy with your neighborhood? I hope you take a very vocal approach and start voting. Vote for the right people. Vote for the people that care about your public safety. Don't even talk about Democrats and Republicans. We can make a difference. California is by far the best state in the country. Well, a caveat. At one point, California is the California dream. Somebody just didn't make that up. California has historically been the best state in the country, but now we are the laughingstock. DOJ published and Harvard came up with this study just this last week. California is 38% higher than the national average in violent crime. We are the highest in the country in property crime. We're the highest in the country in violent crime. How do you suppose that happened? It's the people that we're voting for. It's the same people that are destroying your businesses are destroying our ability to keep you safe, and we're having these incredible numbers go up. So rather than give up and leave, we need to make California the greatest place in the country again. Take back our state. One business at a time, one neighborhood at a time, one chamber at a time, one DA and elected official at a time, one board of supervisor at a time. Sometimes I think she has her work cut out for her. We just need to support like-minded people who care more about all of us and the same family values and the same human values that 98% of us have. So I appreciate all of your support. Make sure you leave. I think there was probably like 30 people that said bad things about me, so everyone has to tell Karen they're all full of crap. And we need to go overboard with the scale. Thank you for participating in this chamber, because it certainly is making a difference in California. What Bobby is doing, and what Jeff is doing with the legislative part of your chamber is fantastic and amazing. But you all have to keep supporting him and them, and make sure that we're doing what we can to make the rest of the state Riverside County. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you so much, Sheriff. I think if we could take anything away from tonight, I think character is the one word that we really need to resonate. Elections have consequences. If you're at all interested in learning a little bit more about our advocacy and our luncheon, we've got a luncheon meeting this next Wednesday. Is Anthony in the room here? Anthony Maldonado? Right over here. Come up and talk to Anthony if you want information about our luncheon. All chamber members are invited for free. It's this next Wednesday. I want to just congratulate the winners for the bidders. So if your name is not called off, then if you want to buy something, come talk to me. We'll figure something out here. I want to thank Jim Gore, Diana Hernandez, Joshua, Marina Miller, Jan Steiner, Dean Safe, Samuel, Robert Hernandez, and Dan Vest. And Mark, did you want to go ahead? So, Mark, could you stand up? This is a very good friend of mine, Mark Fogel. He is going to buy the second helicopter ride at $5,000. God bless you, man. Thank you. On behalf of the chamber, thank you. Thank you to the elected officials. We are so honored to have you as part of our leadership. We know we can pick up the phone and talk to you at any single time. And for all of you, I wish for you only the very best. If there's anything that we can do as a chamber, please come and see us. And I failed to introduce my staff, so Kaylee, would you stand so everyone knows Kaylee does our social media. Nayeli put together this entire event. Thank you, Nayeli. Anthony takes care of programming at the chamber. I know I'm missing some of them and I can't see them. So, okay, Alejandra does our membership retention. And who else am I missing? Desiree. How could Desiree, my work wife, okay? The Vice President of Operations, Desiree Ramirez. Our Membership Development Coordinator is Robert Yanez. And Betty Sharon is our bookkeeper. And did I get everyone? Because I totally didn't write them down, so I apologize. Rachel. Oh my gosh. Where's Rachel? She's downstairs. Rachel Gardia has some special gifts for each and every one of you as you walk out tonight. There's a little gift from the chamber for you guys being here. So stick around. How long is the bar open for, Desiree? Is the bar open still? Yes? I'll pay him extra. We'll stay open for another 30 minutes if you guys want a drink or anything. God bless you guys. Thank you so much.